German state of Hesse, there is a town known as Babenhausen that dates back to the Middle Ages. It is located in the Odenwald mountain range, and a significant number of the ancient buildings and portions of the old city wall are still standing. Many human disasters, including global wars and tragedies like as witch hunts, have occurred in the ancient city. It has seen all of these calamities. In the past, the Babenhausen Kaserne, also known as DP-Lager Babenhausen, was a place of residence for both German and American troops. Even though it is now a museum, the Babenhausen Kaserne was once known as DP-Lager Babenhausen. Beginning in the early 1900s and continuing through both of the World Wars, it was first put to use as a place to host troop housing. As was the case with many of the former German military posts that were taken over by the United States following World War II, it was the American troops who were able to encounter the hauntings that were said to take place at Babenhausen Kaserne. Babenhausen Kaserne is supposed to be haunted by ghosts from the Second World War, and according to accounts, these spirits have been seen wearing their uniforms. It is stated that they continue to haunt the barracks. During this historical period, wars were raging all throughout Europe, and these barracks were home to men who had served in both World War I and World War II. On account of the many occurrences that take place in the barracks after dark, there are several ghost tales that circulate about it. You may hear footsteps and people yelling instructions in the middle of the night, coming from the basement of the ancient barracks. The lights at the barracks switch on and off when no one is supposed to be inside of it. If you listen, you can hear the sound of footsteps. There is also a peculiar legend that the troops received unusual phone calls throughout their stay via landlines. This myth stems from the period when landlines were in use. Furthermore, the fact that the voice on the other side of the telephone is not the specters of male warriors from the past is an extremely peculiar occurrence. As far as they are concerned, the only thing that they heard was the voice of a lady, and it seemed like she was speaking in reverse. Who is this woman who is speaking in a location that is mostly inhabited by men? Is it even conceivable that she is saying something? Upon further investigation, it was discovered that the land upon which the barracks is constructed has a far more ancient history, one that dates back to the witch hunts that took place in Germany many years ago. The Witch Tower, which serves as the town's most recognizable feature, can be found in the historic district of Babenhausen. A witch tower, also known as a Hexenturm in German, is a name that is used to refer to a tower that was a component of a town fort or castle in the past and was used as a jail. The term originates from the historical period of the witch hunts, during which individuals who were accused of being witches were held captive and subjected to various forms of torture that culminated in their execution by burning at the stake. There is a possibility that the witch tower in Babenhausen is connected to the other bizarre paranormal legend that circulates in the ancient barracks. It is said that during the 17th century, there were more than 50 women who were held captive in this witch tower on the suspicion that they were witches. All of these ladies were executed by being burnt alive in the marketplace in the city. According to the legends, one of these witches who was burnt at the stake was a specific Mrs. Muller. She was believed to be responsible for the deaths of 3 men whom she was said to have slain using magic. Moving ahead in time to the year 1843, there was another lady who was connected to Mrs. Muller who was executed by stoning because they believed she was a witch. According to the allegations, this specific Mrs. Muller was responsible for the deaths of at least 5 German troops during the construction of the barracks. Their corpses were discovered in the attic of the Babenhausen Kaserne, and the circumstances surrounding their deaths remained a mystery, according to this tradition. Or is it possible that the second version of the tale, in which there is also a Mrs. Muller who is reported to be haunting the headquarters building at Babenhausen Kaserne, is the one that is occurring? At the Babenhausen Kaserne, she was a young lady who was about to get engaged to one of the troops. When this occurred, many believed that World War I would be ended in a matter of months. This happened during the early stages of the conflict. The fiancé of Mrs. Muller, along with 3 of his companions, hid in the attic with Mrs. Muller's assistance because they did not want to be sent to fight in France. Over the course of a couple of days, they remained there. However, Mrs. Muller discovered them when she attempted to smuggle some food and water up to them. The fact that all 4 deserters were taken into custody and executed by a firing squad was too much for Mrs. Muller to have to bear. Mrs. Muller leaped from the headquarters building on the very same day that they were shot, and the fall, which was fatal, took her life immediately. In addition, the tradition states that the clocks that were attached to the officer's clock tower stopped working at precisely the same time that she passed away. Some people believe that she is one of the ghosts who are said to be haunting the barracks. In summing up, the Babenhausen Kaserne, which is located in Hesse, Germany, is home to a fascinating combination of historical figures and supernatural stories. The haunting sounds of a lady who speaks backwards and the ghosts of Nazi troops are just 2 examples of the weird stories that are said to be associated with this ancient barracks. Whether it be the sightings of soldiers dressed in their uniforms, lights flickering on and off, or the sounds of faraway footfall and authoritative voices, the presence of the past continues to manifest itself behind the walls of Babenhausen Kaserne. These spectral apparitions serve as a reminder of the chaotic circumstances that occurred during World War II, as well as the sacrifices that were made during that time. There is also an additional element of mystery that is added by the link that exists between the Witch Tower in the town and the unusual occurrences that have been recorded in the barracks. The captivity and sad end of more than 50 women who were convicted of witchcraft in the Witch Tower has fueled suspicion about their possible participation in the supernatural phenomena that have been seen. Is it possible that their restless souls are looking for retribution or justice? As the years go by, these spectral stories continue to fascinate the imaginations of both tourists and residents alike. This ensures that the memory of the barracks and the ghosts that call it home will be remembered for many centuries to come. Regardless of whether or not one has faith in the supernatural, the tales that are told about the Babenhausen Kaserne serve as a terrifying reminder of the turbulent past that took place inside its walls.